And along with that, we're now joining Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in Vancouver speaking about housing.
Their success in the economy can see that their hard work is going to build a stable, better life for them. And we're starting today by recognizing that so many young people are renters, and being renters don't see anymore that pathway towards home ownership that was available to previous generations. One of the things we're doing to change that today is by, yes, working with banks, with lenders, with landlord associations, and with fintech innovations in the financial sector that are already moving forward on measures like this, to make sure that anyone who's paying rent anywhere across the country is able to demonstrate that reliability of paying rent every month as being worthy of the kind of investment that banks can make to get a mortgage later on. It's about changing the rules of a game in a way that meets young people where they are and responds to their hopes and dreams for the future. That's what I'm really excited about right now.
Next.
Okay. Je me suis lancé en politique en tant qu'enseignant
as a teacher
avec une priorisation sur les jeunes.
with a
Je
priority
savais
for
que
young
d'amener
people.
des jeunes à
I
s'intéresser
knew
à la
that
politique et de les équiper
bringing young
pour un
people
avenir qui est en train
to
de
be
se
interested in
transformer,
politics
un monde
and get
qui est en train de
equipped
changer,
to face a future in a changing world was necessary. We paid enormously for the young people over past years, for whom
l'avenir n'est pas aussi
the
prometteur
future is not as
que ça a été
promising
pour les générations antérieures.
that it was in previous generations.
Aujourd'hui, on fait une annonce
And now we're making an
pour les
announcement
locataires
today
où il y a
for
énormément de
renters
jeunes qui
that includes a
payent des loyers,
large
mais
number
qui
of
ne
young
voient pas
people
une piste
who
vers
pay
l'achat
rent
d'une
and
première
yet don't see a
propriété.
pathway to the purchase of
Un des
a
gros
first
défis, c'est
home.
que
And one of the
si
major
quelqu'un paye une
challenges
hypothèque à 2 000
is
$
that
par mois,
if someone pays $2,000
ils ont un
mortgage
certain
every
crédit
month,
pour ça dans
they get credit for
dans
that
leur record, dans leur
in their
dossier,
record,
qui vont
in
ensuite
their
permettre aux
score,
banques de leur donner
that then
plus
allows
d'argent dans
banks
l'avenir.
to give them
Et
more
quelqu'un
money in the
qui paye 2 000
future.
$ en loyer
But somebody who
à
pays
chaque mois
$2,000 in rent
n'a
each
aucune
month
reconnaissance de
gets no
cette fiabilité
recognition
du travail
of
qu'ils font pour pouvoir
reliability
payer
in the work
ce
they
loyer.
do to pay
Alors, on
that
est en train de
rent.
changer la donne.
So
On
we're
travaille avec les
changing
banques,
that,
avec les
where we're
institutions
going to work
financières,
with
avec,
banks and
avec
financial
les propriétaires,
institutions and
pour
owners
s'assurer que
to
quand
make
quelqu'un
sure
paye un
that
loyer
when
de
someone
façon
pays
régulière, surtout que les
rent
loyers sont de plus en
regularly,
plus chers,
especially with the rents being higher all the
être
time,
reconnu
they'll be
en
recognized
fiabilité
in their
comme étant un
reliability
investissement sûr, et ils vont pouvoir
as
accéder à des
a
hypothèques,
sure investment,
éventuellement,
and they will be able
peut-être même à
to
des meilleurs taux d'intérêt pour acheter une maison.
access mortgages and maybe even better interest rates.
Hi there, Thomas Hill from Bloomberg News. Asking rents in Canada increased 10.5% on the previous year in February. Do these measures go far enough to address rental inflation, and have you modelled how much of an impact you expect them to have?
We know that rents have gone up across the country because of a few different factors. First of all, a shortage of housing. A shortage of apartments for rent, a shortage of units available on the market, which of course drives up prices. Which is why over the past year, including by removing the GST on purpose-built rental housing, which has led to many new apartment building projects going up, the Housing Accelerator Fund, which is changing the way municipalities zone and build density, we're investing massive amounts of not just money, but effort and partnerships in increasing supply across the country so there are more units, which will keep prices down. At the same time, we know there's challenges on the supply side as the population of temporary residents in this country has reached 6.5% of our total population, up from around 2 or 3% just 5 or 6 years ago. That's put tremendous pressure on the rental market, and that's why we're turning the dial a little bit on temporary residents, whether it's international students or temporary foreign workers, to make sure that they are a number that can be properly absorbed by our housing stocks. So we're working both on the demand side and on the supply side. But the reality is young people are spending a huge amount of their income on rent. And if you look at someone who pays a $2,000 mortgage, they're getting recognition and credit for that from the bank as part of their credit score. But if you're paying $2,000 a month on rent, that gives you no kudos. It gives you no credit. It gives you no recognition that you are working hard to meet your obligations and pay a sizable sum every month. That's why this change of making sure that the money you pay in rent every month is recognized as part of your reliability, as part of your credit score, will help you eventually unlock home ownership, access a mortgage, access borrowing, and be able to build that future that we know you deserve.
Thank you. And if I could ask a follow-up on the talks with the provinces and territories. Have you started those, and how long do you expect that to take?
I have to say, being here in BC, I cannot help but emphasize that the positive conversations we've had with a number of governments, BC being forefront among them, on solving the rental and the housing crisis that people are facing right across the country. The BC Builds program, which was $2 billion put forward by BC that we matched with $2 billion from the federal government, is unlocking affordable housing across the province in an extraordinarily impactful way. We move forward with a Housing Accelerator Fund investment in Vancouver and in a number of municipalities across the Lower Mainland that is changing the way we build housing in this part of the country, and indeed right across the country. And we're going to continue to work with provinces right across the country who recognize the challenges of and the need to step up in partnership on solving this housing crisis. I don't think there's a single provincial government across the country that is saying, oh no, we need to do less on housing. No, we all need to do more. And we're going to continue to push and hold people to account. I know there's a current disagreement with the province of Ontario that we feel is not reaching the level of the commitments they'd made a number of years ago for money to flow. And we're going to work those through because we know that investing in communities, getting more density, building more homes is the way to build a better future for young people and therefore for all Canadians.
Next question. Hi there, Ethan Sawyer, CBC News. My question is about the carbon tax. Are you open to sitting down with the premiers to discuss their concerns about the carbon tax increase?
Over the past number of years, I have sat down with every premier in the country to talk about everything that we are doing together to fight climate change and everything we need to continue to do, not just to fight climate change, but to put more money in the pockets of Canadians. Conservative premiers across this country are misleading Canadians, are not telling the truth. 8 out of 10 families across the country in federal backstop jurisdictions make more money with the Canada carbon rebate than it costs with the price on pollution. So not only are we fighting climate change and reducing emissions, but we're putting more money back in the pockets of families, particularly in low and middle income families across the country. It's basic math that the Parliamentary Budget Officer has confirmed time and time again. But for ideological reasons or reasons of pure partisanship, Conservative politicians across this country are not telling the truth to Canadians. And that's why I called them out. And I'm going to continue to call them out and remind them that if they really don't like our approach to pricing pollution, they can develop their own approach. Here in BC, that's what a BC more conservative government did years ago in creating Canada's first price on pollution. Quebec did the same. Now, we expect everyone to hit the same level of ambition in the fight against climate change because that's fair and that's important if we're going to actually make a difference in the extreme weather events that we're seeing across the country and around the world that are coming. So yes, people need to fight climate change, but any province that wants to put forward a similarly robust way to fight climate change, but do it in a way that works for them, is more than welcome to, and has been from the very beginning of our price on pollution. But Conservative premiers in general would rather complain and attack and mislead Canadians for narrow political gain because of both an ideological objection, apparently, to fighting climate change, but also to an unwillingness to recognize that we are putting more money in people's pockets with rebate checks that Pierre Poilievre wants to take away from Canadians. And to put an even clearer point on it, we announced a doubling of the rural top-up that hits millions of Canadians across the country, and that's being held up in the House of Commons by Pierre Poilievre and his Conservative Party that are preventing that doubling of the rural top-up, money in the pockets of Canadian living in rural communities across the country, from having that money to help with the high cost of living on every different level. That's irresponsible by Conservative premiers, and I'm going to continue to call out all Conservative politicians who are doing that.
Thanks. One follow-up. CSE confirms Canada has been targeted by the same hackers the US and UK have sanctioned for an alleged cyber espionage campaign tied to China. When was Canada targeted and what happened? Why didn't Canada impose sanctions too? And if I can get an answer in French as well.
We've seen over the
Okay,
past
right
number
now
of
we've been
years
listening to
increase.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in Vancouver talk about housing.